Hi, I'm Eric Wise with Urban Native at West Shore Plaza Mall. Come by and see us. You'll find things you've never seen anywhere else. And in the meantime, we're going places with Rick Rollins.
Thanks a lot, Eric. And if you're ever in West Shore, be sure to stop by Urban Native the Collective. There's always something unique and very special there. Here's what's coming up on today's show. Our pet vet, Dr. Nabuki's back, and we're talking about pets, fleas and ticks, and prevention. We talk with Fred Hearns from the Tampa Bay History Center about their new exhibit, Travail and Triumph, just in time for Juneteenth. And Jessica Ryan Rollins, transition coach and first daughter to the show, continues her Transition 2023 Summer Series. All of this and more, starting, you guessed it, right now. Of course, we're here at Royal Pets, and you know this man. He's our pet vet, Dr. Nabuki.
Hey.
And we have our special guest with us today. Who is it, Dr. Nabuki?
Yeah, this is Zoe. We're a 3-year-old cockapoo.
And we want to talk today about fleas.
Fleas and ticks. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about it, Doc. So we all know that fleas and ticks are the arch enemies of any pet. So how do we then begin to determine, first of all, if, I think scratching is an obvious, but how do we know that the animal has fleas or ticks?
So it helps if they're a lighter coat color, because then you can usually see the fleas because they're pretty dark, so you may see them running around. The ticks are a lot harder to find because they like wet, dark places.
Oh, wow.
So usually the ears or the armpits or around the butt, that's where you're usually going to find the ticks on the dogs. But yeah, number one symptom really is usually scratching and itching that you're going to notice the fleas.
Okay, and so then once we notice that, what do we need to do?
So you need to call your vet and talk to them because we want to make sure to get rid of those as quickly as possible. So prevention is key. They say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So that is definitely important. And we have preventions for fleas and ticks.
Okay.
So that's number one, getting them on a good prevention so we cut off their blood supply. And then second is actually taking care of the environment. So whether that's another animal in the house, making sure they're on prevention, or cleaning the beddings, cleaning the house, vacuuming up any eggs or things like that in the in the carpet, and having the bug man come and spray to help kill those. Yeah. Okay.
So, but there are home hacks that people can use in between. I think borax was one that I read about.
There are a couple things you can do. What I would say is, talk with your veterinarian and actually, go to a pet store such as Royal Pets, because we have a lot of products that you can safely use around the pets and actually put into the carpet and stuff where it won't hurt the carpet and it won't hurt your pet. So, but yeah, we have a lot of stuff that can actually capture and get those things. And then usually you're following up with a vacuuming that'll suck it all up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are the dangers? And, some people say, well, of course they're going to get some fleas. Let's talk about the dangers that come with them coming in contact with the fleas or the ticks.
So the dangers, they're really going to be for both. They're blood-sucking parasites. So they're going to suck out a lot of blood, make you very anemic. So we don't want that. Secondarily, for ticks, they can actually pass on a lot of blood-related diseases. Really? And so, yeah, a lot of bloodborne pathogens. So you want to get them taken care of and off the pet as quickly as possible so you minimize that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, flea collars.
So I tend to say up north where there's less of a flea issue, flea collars tend to work pretty good because you've got a less population to work on, okay? However, down here in the south where it's a lot warmer and the fleas really don't die off from winter and stuff like that, you've got to use a lot stronger prevention. So I would say down here, the flea collars and the tick collars really don't work too well.
So if we're looking, would you say as a vet, which is your preference, internal or external?
So I like internal. So giving them, a prevention every month, or depending on whatever you use, sometimes every 3 months, that can actually help protect them, for me, a little bit better than the collar. And again, if you've got the collar on, some of the dogs will take it off, they'll scratch it off, they'll chew it. But with the edible, they eat that and then it's done, that it's in their system. So.
Okay. Final word to those who have felines.
Flea and tick prevention is super, super important, so make sure that your pet's on it so you don't have to deal with it.
For more information about Royal Pets and any service that you need, because I know you probably heard the noise in the background, that's the grooming center that we're near.
Yep.
So grooming is important.
And
the information about Royal Pets. Here comes the QR code. And Dr. Buki, as always, we'll see you next week.
See ya.
More Going Places right after this.
Bye-bye.
When we come back, we'll stop by the Tampa Bay History Center and find out about their newest exhibit right after this. Welcome back to this edition of Going Places. There's a new exhibit that's coming to the Tampa Bay History Center that I don't think you want to miss. I talked with one of the curators about the exhibit. Take a look. We are honored to have, and I affectionately call him the GOAT when it comes to history and Black history in Tampa. He is one of two people that I go to at any given time. Won't you welcome with us this morning on Going Places, Fred Hearns. Thank you for being with us, Fred.
Thank you, Rick. I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
Yes,
so
sir.
to have you on. And of course, I want to thank Billy from the Tampa Bay History Center for making sure this happened and it happened as expeditiously as he did. I really appreciate that. So Fred, let's talk about this new exhibit that is happening. Everybody is buzzing about it. And I said, well, that's a place they should go. Since the show is called Going Places, let's make it happen. So let's talk about it. The exhibit is called
Travails and Triumphs.
Okay, and if you are a person who has lived any time, you've had some travails and you've had some triumphs. Let's talk about that exhibit.
Absolutely. The exhibit here at the Tampa Bay History Center, and by the way, this is a permanent exhibit. So
Okay,
it's going to be here for quite a while. It's going to be here for quite a while.
Don't wait to go see it. Go see it while it's fresh so you can tell everybody about it. Okay, go ahead, Fred.
Absolutely. You want to be among the first to come and visit us. We're at 801 Water Street, right on the Riverwalk in Channel Side, downtown Tampa. And this exhibit really covers 500 years history of Black people in Tampa. So It goes back to those free Africans as well as those Africans who were enslaved who came here in the 1500s and found a home in Florida and more specifically in Tampa and the Tampa Bay area. Of course, we have primarily maps from that era. We don't have artifacts from 1500. I wish we did, that relate directly to the presence of Black people here. But we have diaries and we have written evidence of their presence here. We also know that just prior to slavery, many Blacks ran away from, when they came to the Americas, rather, they came to Florida. And then during slavery, the harsh chattel slavery that we are most familiar with that happened on the large plantations in Georgia, Mississippi, the Carolinas, and so forth. Many of those Blacks came to Florida because they knew that once they reached Florida, they could live among the Seminole Indians, the other Native American groups who were here prior to the Seminoles, as well as with the Spaniards. The Spaniards controlled much of Florida during the 1700s and early 1800s. So we've had Black people here for quite a long time, and they migrated into Florida, and many of them made a home here.
Wow. So I think that one of the things, and as a person who has family members who lived in Tampa and then lived in the Gainesville, Alachua, Archer area, this is all familiar. One of the things that I think that it is so appropriate and time appropriate, if you will, is that a term? That this is the perfect time with Juneteenth coming up. This is a wonderful time for you to plan as a family to go visit this exhibit. Since we now have a national holiday, you have no excuses that you can't go and really take it in and show your children why this day is so important. Would you agree?
And Rick, you mentioned Juneteenth, which this year falls on a Monday. It's coming up very soon. And our theme here is Juneteenth, a free day. And it absolutely is a free day. There's no admission to come to the Tampa Bay History Center on Monday, June 19th, which is Juneteenth, from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. We'll be open. And of course, we have a lot else to see here in addition to travails and triumphs, but we certainly encourage people to come out any day. We're open 7 days a week, but it is a free day here on Monday, June 19th. And we invite everybody to come out and see this wonderful exhibit.
Fred is the distinguished gentleman. Let me tell you what he really is saying. You have no excuses. You have no excuses for why you cannot attend. And like you said, Monday is a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time for family to come and witness this together and to really understand why this exhibit is pivotal and so important to the Tampa Bay area. But I think the History Center does a wonderful job in showing people why this is why we should be proud residents anyway. And because Tampa is the heart and crux, even of entrepreneurship and of hard work, and like you said, of travail and triumphs. I think it's a wonderful space to go and really understand why you should be a proud Tampanian. I really think so. So, Fred, if there was one thing that that has struck you in watching this exhibit come together, what's leapt off of the pages of history for you?
Well, we have so many untold stories, Rick, of Black people who struggled, who survived, who were able to make a living for themselves and their families. And unfortunately, a lot of those names, a lot of those individuals and the things that they did, we will never know in detail. So a lot of the names are not recorded that we'd like to have. But for those that we do have some stories from the early 1900s of Black people who came and prospered. And believe it or not, during Reconstruction in the 1870s, 1880s, after the Civil War, Black people came in possession of much of the land in downtown Tampa.
Wow.
And we do have those names recorded. One name in particular, Cyrus Charles, who went on to become a county commissioner, believe it or not, in the 1880s. Cyrus Charles owned the land which today we know of as downtown on Ashley and Kennedy at Curtis Hickson Park. That area on the Riverwalk in the 1880s was owned by this Black man named Cyrus Charles.
Wow.
Many people are familiar with the name Fortune Taylor. Madam Fortune Taylor, a Black woman who owned the land during that same period in the 1880s, where we now have the Strass Performing Arts Center, owned by a Black woman, 30 acres of land. So we do have the names of some of those early pioneers who came to Tampa, made this their home. Unfortunately, over the years, bit by bit, acre by acre, through eminent domain and by other means, they lost that land over the years. We do have documentation to show, however, for example, that much of downtown, especially the northern part of downtown, were not only places where Black people lived, but where many of them opened their early businesses.
And thrived.
And then those businesses mainly wound up on Central Avenue. And I think you've heard a lot about Central Avenue. So we have a lot of stories leading into the creation of Central Avenue in the 1890s. And those were Black people, men and women, who overcame tremendous odds. Therefore, the name of this exhibit, Travails and Triumphs.
Yes. And I really wish we had more time, but I tell you what, you're welcome back anytime. We can break this down week by week, month by month, however we want to do it. But I'm telling you, Monday the 19th, you have no excuse to not go to the Tampa History Center and see this exhibit. Fred, thanks to you and Billy for taking time out this morning to be with us.
Thank you, Rick, and we look forward to seeing you down here at the History Center.
In the soon coming day, I promise, I'll be there on the 19th. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
More Going Places right after this. Stay with us. Remember, the exhibit is free on Juneteenth. Here's more information. Be sure to scan the QR code. See it. When we come back, we're joined by Jessica Ryan Rollins, and we continue our Transitions Month right here on Going Places. Right after this, don't miss it.
Hi, I'm Arlene. Welcome to Coffee Speaks and Tea Talks. What's your coffee saying? Whether in for business or just getting away, let Coffee Speaks and Tea Talks be a part of your day. A place for you to come and share thoughts and spirit through a cup of coffee. Come and enjoy with us here at Coffee Speaks and Tea Talks. Coffee Speaks and Tea Talks. Enjoy life one cup at a time.
It is our Transition Summer Series, and here with us is transitions coach, educator, you name it, she does it. If it's about transitioning in life, she is the person for you to talk to. Won't you help me welcome to the show my favorite and only daughter in the whole wide world, affectionately known as my one and only Jessica Ryan Rollins. So glad to have you back for week 2.
All right, I'm happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
So we're transitioning now because they have gotten their sheepskin or their little rolled up diploma. They've turned their tassel, and now college is just days away. How do we get ready to go from high school to college? Because it's not going to be the same party.
It is not, but we celebrate their achievements and we are excited. But one of the big things, and you will hear me say this week after week, is that we prepare and we have a plan. And one of the biggest things is that for that student who's going off to college is to make sure that they set themselves up for success throughout the summer so that they can have a great first semester. So for any student who is going off to a university, one of the biggest things that they'll have to do is attend new student orientation. And as a previous advisor, this was one of my favorite times, meeting all of my new students and their families, but it was also an overwhelming time. So much information is being thrown at that student family. So one of the biggest things that I say is take it all in. Get the notes, but you want to make sure that you leave your new student orientation knowing exactly what your coursework is going to look like. I've had students leave orientation and they didn't register for one class, right? You're going to college to take classes. You do. Absolutely. The week was long and they were ready to get back home. It happens, right? So we want to make sure that you know what your schedule is going to look like when you come back. We want to make sure that you know who your resources and services that are going to be available to you, like your academic advisor. You want to know what's going on with housing. Hopefully you've got your room assignment, and of course, financial aid. We don't want to be surprised when classes start that we don't have a place to live, we don't have classes, and then we get this bill that we didn't plan for.
And so think about that. Last year, we were helping a friend of ours try to find a place to live at the 11th hour. She was there, registered for classes, got all that done, and realized that there was no housing on campus or off campus for that matter. But luckily, there was a family friend that said, hey, you can stay here if necessary. So yeah, don't go up there. You don't go.
Right. There's no point of going if you don't have a place to live. So we want to make sure that you feel good that coming back, that everything is done, the necessities of getting you there and having that successful first semester. So please go to orientation, soak it in, learn all the things, but making sure that when you come back, your checklist is good and you feel good about classes, housing, and of course your financial aid.
Okay, what's next?
The next thing you will hear me say it, and I can never get enough I can't talk about enough, is life skills and adulting 101, right? So this is the first time probably for a lot of students that they're going to be away on their own. You know, that family member, that support system isn't there. So it's really important that you use that summer almost like a little boot camp, a life skills boot camp. Do they know how to do their laundry? Do they know, you know, those basic cleanings, especially if they have a roommate? You don't want to be the roommate that doesn't know how to clean, because they're going to talk about you. So you want to, they will, right? So you want to make sure that you're able to know some household, you know, how to keep up a household, cleaning, making up your bed, doing the dishes, all of those things. And of course, how to cook, right? So a good amount of students will typically have that meal plan, but sometimes that resident, you know, that food hall might be closed when you want that grilled cheese or that ramen if you have never made it at 2 a.m. while you're studying. So it's important that you know how to do a couple little basics of cooking, cleaning, also making sure that the budgeting and finance conversation.
I was going to say that.
Money matters, right? So this is probably for some of them the time where it's like, I might get this big sum of financial aid. What do I do with it? How do I manage that? Or I'm going out a lot more. I'm making new friends. There's so many things going on. Those swipes definitely add up. So we want to make sure that student feels good about budgeting and finances as well.
Okay, hold on right there. We're going to actually take our break. When we come back, we'll continue as we transition from high school to college, or as we like to call it, adulting 101. More with Jessica Ryan Rollins and Goin Places right after this. Talking about transitions today with the transition coach, Jessica Ryan Rollins, and we're talking about transitioning from high school to college and making sure that you have got your act together so that they don't bring the curtain down on you mid-semester. Okay, let's continue, Jessica.
I love that you bring that up, because one of the things that if I give no other advice to students, and it makes my mom like cringe when I say this, she's like, give the youngins some advice. And I say, the biggest piece of advice I have is you're preparing for that new norm. So don't do anything that's going to make you come home. Fill in the blank with that. And what I mean about that is that we want to make sure that we're setting some expectations and we're preparing for this new dynamic, right? You're not going to see baby girl, baby boy every day. Like, we know that independence is going to be kicking in. For some, they thrive. For some, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So you want to make sure you have a conversation with your student about what life away from home looks like. So some clear communication and setting expectations. So if you're making that investment in your students' education, we need to talk about what your investment looks like. And so
with expectation, not only just the investment, the expectations of what you can expect or they can expect from you. Are you going to be able to come home? Are you going to be able to, what's going to happen here? Because I got dropped off at Morehouse. And it was like, bye. I was like, wait a minute. My friend Lori, her parents were back. I swear they were there every other weekend. I was like, can't you ride up with them? They're like, you in school now, son? We're not coming up there. I was like, what? I did not see my parents until Thanksgiving and then again at Christmas. That was the only time I saw them. And that was pretty much with you. I didn't come the whole 4 years because I hate where she was in school at. No, I'm only kidding. I walked in this knowing that Jessica was going to be that student that could handle this. And boy, did she handle it. I mean, she did. She was handling it for other people. There were some folks that will tell you that she wouldn't have graduated. I mean, that they wouldn't have graduated. Excuse me. They would not have graduated if it hadn't been for her really sticking around and helping them make it through. So I digress, but yeah, you need to know what the expectations are. You really do. I'm sorry.
And with that, it's one of the things of you want to discuss what that's going to look like. So what is the cadence for communication? Is the expectation that you call home once a week, once a month? If I call you twice and you don't pick up, what does that look like, right? Or what are the grades? Is it that B's are okay, or a C average is good as well? So little things like that. And, you know, when it comes to, are we giving an allowance still? You want to have those conversations before you say goodbye. I've had, you know, some of the clients that I've worked with in the families, especially the moms, they don't play around, and they have even created contracts for their student who's going off just to like, absolutely, it's don't do anything that will make you have to come home, right? And what that looked like for each family that I've worked with was a little bit different, but it's everyone is we're well aware on, I expect to hear from you on Sundays. We still will have family, you know, chats. You want to make sure that, hey, like, I'm giving you this much a month or weekly. Once it's gone, you got to figure it out. There's no more. So making sure that we're all aligned on what this new dynamic and new norm will look like. So that, and it's not just do as I say, right? You want to empower them as they're getting into the world of adulthood.
And that's important, because here's the thing. When this child leaves, they're going to leave your child. They're going to come back an adult, and they will already be making some decisions, what time they come home. And you got house rules, and I get all that, but you're gonna, I'm telling you, you parents, you need to be prepared for who returns, because it's not going to be the same person that left. I don't care what that can be your little baby, your little Bobby, your little Susie, but they're gonna come back. Now he wants to be called Robert, and she got a whole new name, you know. So it's really important that, like you said, there's expectations, but at the same time, that the reality sets in that you're now, you have an adult that's going to come back. In a lot of instances, they may have left at 17, but now they're coming back at 18. And there's a lot they can do at 18 that you may not have allowed in your house, but in their house, they've got a whole different set of rules. So I think that is important. Jessica, you know what? We need to take this over into next week. So next week we continue this conversation. So we're going to have on the same clothes, but at the same time, I think it's important. I don't want to rush this. So next week we continue the transition as we talk about Adulting 101. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Goin Places. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. We look forward to seeing you again next week with more interesting people doing interesting things in interesting places. On behalf of everyone here at Goin Places, be safe and be blessed on the journey. We'll see you next time. Take care.